Good morning. I'm pleased to join you here today. I'm not sure I understand the issue of the snow as much because I know at least one person is going to be buying me a new bumper for my truck this morning. So as I stopped and they didn't. But anyway, I'm really happy to be here. I set out a little earlier, so that worked out really well this morning. I am the manager of the Pacific Northwest Site Office for the U.S. Department of Energy here for the Office of Science. I thought as a new guy, it'd probably be a good idea to start off with a few observations. Let's see if this works. Let's see. Well, here we go. So a newcomer's perspective to town. I've been in the department 21 years. Been in headquarters in the field, plants, national labs, and most recently I was at Los Alamos National Lab in New Mexico for the last 6 years. After 6 months here in the Tri-Cities, I can tell you it's very hard to compare cities and very hard to compare national labs. But I thought it would be best to put a few just outsider observations in as a way of contrasting where we stand maybe compared to some others. Through this 21 years of my career, I've worked in many DOE cities. They have had difficulty staffing a Starbucks reliably. We've had power costs that are double what we see here in the Tri-Cities. It's been a 100-mile drive to a Costco. That puts things into perspectives. And also from a standpoint of expansion, they were either capped by water or capped by power or surrounded and unable to expand by land. That's certainly not our case here in the Tri-Cities. And furthermore, looking at PNNL and contrasting it to the other national labs, it's not surrounded by high walls. It's not on a military base. It doesn't have barbed wire. It's not miles from the town, and it's part of our community. The community adds strength to PNNL, and conversely, PNNL adds strength to the community. So coming in from the outside, I was surprised to find that the lab's reputation is really more outside of the state than it is inside the state. And so it's one of those things that just surprised me as I explained to friends and family. They know PNNL from being outside. They've heard the reputation. They've heard the discoveries. But when I talk to some friends and neighbors, I still have to explain Hanford versus PNNL, or PNNL versus the other areas at the site, or between the M&O contractors on Hanford site. I do routinely see that the lab's efforts are in the press, both here in the area, around the state, and around the globe. I pick up the paper and I read an article and I can see PNNL. I don't know if that's always something that others can do. CDs and barcodes were a game changer 2 decades ago, and they were a PNNL innovation. And they changed the world that we live in today. The discoveries that we have going on right now in national security, environmental science, bioscience, et cetera, those are going to be the game changers of the next decade. And so it's important to kind of keep our pulse on what the lab is doing, because that really speaks to our future. I'm really not trying to put name branding or recognition in place, but it's really an awareness issue of what PNNL is in terms of this community. I can tell you that in terms of innovation, PNNL's reputation has never been higher. Collaborators are coming and seeking out the lab. It's a very different environment than we see 10 to 15 years ago. And we have new facilities coming online. We have new capabilities coming online. Investment continues. We just saw one of the largest investments in the lab's history, just completed this year. One probably unsung issue is that we just opened up what's called a quiet wing here on one of the facilities. The quiet wing is probably the quietest place on Earth from electromagnetic and from a vibration perspective. And from that standpoint, you can see images like the one on the screen now, the cadmium sulfide that you're seeing, because we have that kind of a quiet vibration and distortion-free environment to work in. That's the name of the game that we're working in now in science. We're on the cutting edge of our technology. So where do we fit in? Well, I mentioned PNNL is coupled with the community and an anchor to the research district. Through Mike Kluse's leadership and that of Battelle, we've seen active engagement in our schools, the recent test scores from Delta High being a case in point. We've also seen an ever-increasing level of volunteerism, growth, and diversification of the lab. It is now intertwined with us and the community. But it's important to remember that PNNL PNNL is a billion-dollar enterprise. BMI is the largest employer in the Tri-Cities, and in fact, the largest non-federal employer in this half of the state. And so that is truly an important asset to this community. I really like this photo because it gives me kind of a past, present, and future perspective. In the distance, you see the 300 area. In the foreground, which is the present site, you see the facilities that are normally associated with PNNL. And then in the middle, between those two, you see the areas where we have our new buildings and we hope to have our future expansion. So it's really past in the distance, present in the future here, and then you got the middle. So let me go on. Again, thinking of PNNL as a national resource, not just a local one. I've got the map here of the national labs across the country. You know, national labs are charged with advancing science and helping promote both the economic and national interests. Comparatively, national labs are a rare breed. There are just 17 DOE national labs. The nearest national lab is 10 hours from this community after PNNL, and that puts into perspective the economic reach that we could see. Of the 17 national labs, 3 are weapons labs, focused on our nation's nuclear deterrent. 3 more only focus on the energy sector. Some are as small as 400 people, while others focus on a key experiment or a key piece of technology like an accelerator. Most align to just one program. Only a few science labs are multi-program like PNNL. It's this diversity of mission and diversity of customers that brings a diverse skill mix. And in turn, the diverse skill mix provides a robust environment for more customers to do more things. Both the state and the region benefit from PNNL, not only in the direct ways of salaries and revenue and business opportunities or procurement and purchases and spin-offs and the usual set of economic issues, but it's also the fact that the expertise is here and local. So far this year, since October 1, we've had 15 technology assistance projects where the best and brightest from PNNL are there to enable and help and answer the issues that businesses face. Our goal this year is to try to accomplish 48. That gives you a sense of perspective of, again, trying to reach out into the community and help. In fact, hundreds of companies can now trace their origins back to the PNNL and PNNL's innovations. I think the Mid-County Energy Initiative and the Northwest Grid demonstration are good examples of where PNNL expertise and capability, coupled with the community, create a stronger activity. One that I hadn't heard much about is biofuels, and in an area where PNNL is actually leading through science some innovation. And the intent here is to try to grow crops in Franklin County that could actually be turned into biofuels. And then we're hoping that in 12, it might find its way into a green aircraft carrier. And so we have a safer military for that technology. So again, technology demonstration and applied science are our strengths. As we look around the nation, as we talk to some of the economic indicators from the speaker before me, we see it's difficult times in many communities. We may have been sheltered from the worst by a combination of growth, elevated regional activity, and of course the ARA funding. As environmental work grew at PNNL, as environmental work shrank, non-proliferation work grew. Efficiencies allowed costs to be held relatively flat for our customers. This is very important in an environment where the vast majority of the work that PNNL does is competed each year. There is no level of base funding, and so it is a very competitive environment. As investment grew, new opportunities emerge. And FY11 or 2011 was really a year like no other. We saw a lot of accomplishment. New opportunities led to growth. Growth led to innovation, and innovation led to new opportunities. It becomes a cycle. If you look at the chart, you see comparison to 8 years ago, the impact that the lab has seen from its dedicated efforts to science and its pursuit of customers that can use and apply that science. We saw continued growth, and we also saw expansion of our campus. The capability replacement lab, a $200 million investment, was completed. It's the first major investment of a federal project in a decade. And so from that standpoint, it cemented the lab's future and also moved us forward in capability. We moved out of all but 4 facilities in the 300 area. Moved on to the campus that we had expanded, which was forever an empty square. This was an unprecedented shift of manpower and operations in a very safe and secure manner. It's further cemented the distinction between Hanford and PNNL. In preparation for this presentation, I asked Mike Sklouse's team to give me their top accomplishments for the year, thinking I would get a few key issues. I got a list of over 50 items that were key accomplishments this year. And it's a varied list. It's ranging from their work on Fukushima to work on cancer detection, and from areas such as new business innovations, bringing down costs on campus, to bringing in some of the leading edge scientists to join the PNNL family. So it's really been a very good year. The diversity of the work we do attracts a diverse customer base and requires this diverse workforce that is educated and capable to live up to these standards. As workload shifts, we have greater flexibility than most national labs. This pie chart behind me gives you a sense of the sectors of work that we do in FY11 and hopefully going forward. As new work emerges, this breadth gives us the ability to adjust to different economic times and different customer interests. Our DOE portfolio, which is on the right, is balanced between national security, science, and the energy environmental sectors. Those leverage the work on the left, with crossover as an example between national security around the globe and homeland security here in the US. This is a good example of where one side balances the other. But as we look forward, future budgets are unknown. I think we all get a sense of the economic climate that's in the United States at this point. The President's going to be releasing his budget in about a little over a week, and then Congress will have balance of the year to evaluate. We have debt reduction, sequestration, all these discussions are going to really dominate the stage. And so from that standpoint, we see many economic challenges ahead. The government does have an FY12 budget, and unfortunately we haven't been able to evaluate all the impacts in FY12 yet, because as we said, we have a variety of customers. They have a variety of priorities. And as the budget was approved, they are re-racking those priorities, and when we partner with them to arrive what the science activities can be in that environment. We are seeing a general trend down this year as a forecast. It's not one customer, it's a series of pluses and minuses across multiple programs. We do believe that we'll be able to mitigate some of this programmatic shift, that we will be able to manage internally and through attrition for a fair portion, but that can only take us so far. As such, we have begun the process of evaluating a workforce restructuring plan to address both voluntary and involuntary layoffs. No details yet, but it is in the works, and we're evaluating this as we evaluate our customers and work with them in partnership. Again, it's something we hope to mitigate to the greatest degree, and it's something that we have to do as good stewards of the lab. In closing, I do believe PNNL is a continually unfolding success story. The growth that we've seen, its place in the scientific community, its involvement around the globe are all testaments to its capability. One issue I didn't give you a sense to think about here is just as you read through the newspapers and you read and look at issues occurring in former Soviet Union in terms of nuclear material detection and preservation, and those are issues that you'll see PNNL involved in. We were the first to detect the Fukushima nuclear release here with the finely tuned equipment here in the States. We were also the largest supporter of the NRC. And so again, you just look at how these synergies come together, our work overseas, our work domestically. Last year, we had 23 countries and 42 states do work at just one of our facilities. That's a huge draw from across the country. It is also a testament that these scientists are called on to be across the country supporting and working with others. Collaboration and partnership are the mainstays of PNNL at this point. So I'd like to close in thinking that the community is an integral part of PNNL. We're part of the community, we're volunteers in the community, employers are part of the community, et cetera. But it is really a partnership with the community that makes us stronger. Many other states are moving forward with their national labs to try to leverage the capability, to try to leverage new innovation and new opportunities for federal funds and others. This provides an opportunity for us to partner, much like the grid demonstration and other efforts. If we could build together, we're stronger through this process. So I would ask you to think about, again, how we can each work together to look for those opportunities to partner, to leverage the lab strength in the community and the community strength in the lab. And so with that, I will close and say thank you and look forward to working with you.